Nagpadala sa akin ng liham si aliceguo, Mayor aliceguo, 2 araw na nakakalipas na humihingi siya ng pag-unawa at paumanhin. Kaugnay daw sa mga salitang binitiwan niya nung nakaraang linggo. Subalit wala pa rin siyang sinabi kaugnay sa pag-attend naman niya ng pagdinig ng Senado at pagsunod, hindi lamang sa subpoena pero sa warrant of arrest. Bagaman naunawaan ko, yung pag-unawang hinihingi niya, hanggat hindi siya nagpapakita at sumusunod sa Senado, ay hindi ko matatanggap ang anumang pakiusap na hinihiling niya dun sa kanyang liham. Kaugnay hindi lamang sa pag-unawa, pero para matulungan din yung kanyang mga kababayan. Dahil meron naman pumalit sa kanyang Vice Mayor para ipagpatuloy ang trabaho ng pamahalaan sa Banban.
So, tuloy pa po yung hearing ng Senado?
Walang dahilan para hindi magpatuloy yun dahil garantiya din yun na may sasakatuparan ang sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos kahapon sa SONA na banned na ang POGO at magwa-wind down na lamang yung mga nananatiling legal na POGO na, kung di ako nagkakamali, kulang na sa 40 o 40 hanggang sa katapusan ng taon para makahanap o mahanapan ng trabaho yung maapekto ang mga Pilipino.
Sir, ano po yung sagot ninyo dun sa letter niya?
Hindi ko nasasagutin. Magsisilbing sagot na ito para sa kanya dahil sumulat siya dahil sa sinabi ko sa media and then sagot ko na rin sa sulat niya sa pamamagitan ninyo ng media.
Sir, what do you make of it? I mean, saying sorry for what she said, but di pa rin siya nag-adhere sa arrest order.
Tingin ko pati siya'y naguguluhan sa kanyang kasalukuyang sitwasyon. Mahirap din naman siguro malagay sa ganitong bingit ng sentro ng atensyon ng bawat ahensya ng pamahalaan. Subalit sa dulo, sana payuhan siya ng tama ng kanyang mga abogado na humarap at tapusin na itong yugto na ito sa parte ng Senado para makafocus at concentrate na siya sa mga kasong kinakaharap niya sa DOJ, sa Solgen at sa Sandigan Bayan.
Kung siya mag-alala kung susuko siya, kasi safe naman siya dito sa Senate?
Palagi naman, ang titiyakin namin ang kanyang seguridad at matapos niyang mag-attend at matiyak yung kanyang pagdalo, pwede nang i-lift yung kanyang contempt at warrant of arrest. Yun naman ang aming gagarantiya sa kanya.
Yung sa POGO lang, legal matters lang, ano po yun? After the President said na dapat ban na yung POGO, does he need to issue EO or is there any parang laws na kailangan bang gawin?
No, an order suffices. Hindi EO ang nag-legalize sa POGO. Hindi EO ang nag-legalize sa POGO. Hindi batas ang nag-legalize sa POGO. Lisensya na inisyo ng PAGCOR ang nag-legalize dyan. Kaya ang pag-ban dyan, pagbawi lamang ng lisensyang binigay ng PAGCOR ang kinakailangan gawin.
So, since may order na si Pangulo, matik na yun, sir, na susundin dapat na
Walang choice dahil coterminous and serves at the pleasure of the President ang POGO, ang PAGCOR chairman. So obligado siyang sumunod at wala akong nakitang dahilan para hindi siya sumunod. Ngayon kung tatanungin niyo, ba't di kami magpasa ng batas laban sa POGO? Sa galing ng mga tao sa larangang yan. Mag-iimbento palagi yan. PAGO, POGO, PEGO. Sa dulo, kung nais natin pagbawal ang pasugalan at sugal sa bansa, pues pagbawal na natin lahat. At susuporta ko palagi doon. Mapapogo, mapapigo, mapakasino, at then sabay-sabay na natin kung talagang tingin natin nakakasama yan sa ating lipunan at sa ating mga kababayan.
So, dapat yung approve na batas, sir, pinagbabawal lahat ng klase ng sugal. Kung
papunta talaga tayo doon, malamang hindi na pumalakpak yung PAGCOR doon. Isasama mo rin ba yung loto? Sugal din ba yun? So, depende. Dapat national policy yan, kaugnay sa sugal, kung gusto talaga nating malipon ang masasamang epekto ng bisyong ito.
So kung magkakaroon ng batas o ng panukala, sir, dapat para sa lahat, natanggalin na lahat, sir?
Para sa akin. Dahil kung hindi, magpapasalan tayo palagi ng batas kada may maiimbento silang pangalan at panibagong uri at klase ng sugal.
Sir, tama lang, ituloy pa rin yung investigation sa POGO.
Tama lang na ituloy yun para matiyak natin na yung illegal ay talagang masusupil, both may lisensya o walang lisensya. Nasa diskresyon na ni Senator Risa kung ipagpapatuloy niya yung kanyang pagdinig kaugnay sa bagay na yan. Walang pipigil sa kanya sa pagdinig na yan.
Binigyan mo ng end of the year para wind down yung operation ng POGO. Enough time?
Nang legal Yung illegal, kahapon pa bawal yun. Last year pa bawal yun. Ang binigyan lang ng panahon para mag-wind down hanggang sa katapusan ng taon ay nananatiling 38, kung hindi ko nagkakamali, na legal na POGO. Pero yung illegal na POGO na mahigit 100 Nung isang taon pa bawal yun. Nung isang buwan pa bawal yun. Kahapon pa bawal yun. Walang transition period yun.
So, malaking pogi point dito kay Presidente.
Well, hinedline ng bawat pahayagan sa araw na ito. Tila yun ang binigyang highlight sa kanyang zona. At doon din may pinakamaraming palakpak, hiyaw at tayuan ng mga nakinig sa zona kahapon sa Kongreso.
The objective of the hearing is to hear from our source persons their views on banning POGOs and also banning online gambling as some of our senators aim to achieve. How come these POGO entities are always associated with criminal elements? How come they're closely linked? From your analysis, Yusek Cruz.
Basically, sir, they're looking for a place to do their thing, like yung scamming activities. And I think nakita nila, sir, yung Pilipinas as their playground. When I say playground, sir, things they need to continue to operate their legal activities are available here. Like having a new identity. Every time we raided the POGO hubs, this is a constant thing that's happening in every raids that we're doing. Laging may mga fugitives, sir. Sometimes we get 15, 9 fugitives in other POGO hubs, 11. And checking on their identities, they already assume identities. And kung mapapansin mo, sir, meron na silang mga driver's license, meron silang mga PhilHealth cards, meron silang mga even birth certificates, and passports. In some cases, nakakuha kami, sir, sa Thailand ng mga passports. So, we're thinking na, kaya, sir, naging puntahan tayo ng mga criminal elements dito is because they can get what they want here. And in cases that they run into trouble with the law, naayos nila, sir. It's really hard to accept their reality, but in most cases, sir, naayos nila yung problema nila rito. And yun nga, sir. And then nakuha nila, sir, yung mga weaknesses ng mga Pilipinos. And ang isa pang problema, sir, na nakita namin is yung existence still nung pre-registered SIM cards. We're talking about online gaming here, sir. And what's the common denominators in POGOs, in online gaming, na yung sinasabi nga ni Chairman na pag tinanggal nila, maya-maya nandiyan na uli. Kasi there still exists yung pre-registered SIM cards. They can avail of these pre-registered SIM cards dito sa atin. Nakakagawa kasi in one case, we demonstrated yung paggawa ng mga SIM cards kasama yung mga media kung paano ginagawa. Dito lang ginagawa eh. And they can even contract a group of pre-registered SIM cards creator para gumawa ng thousands of SIM cards for them. So, not unless we can solve the problem of this pre-registered SIM cards, sir, hindi matatanggal dito, sir, yung POGO. Kasi they always hide behind dito sa mga fake identities na to, sir. After getting what they want, let's say, pag nakuha na nila o pag nasuba na nila o pag na-scam na nila yung isang tao, tatapon lang nila yung SIM cards and that's it. Nasira na yung buhay ng isang tao dahil dun sa isang pre-registered SIM cards. They'll just use another pre-registered SIM card na ginawa nila for the purpose of scamming persons. Ano? And in recent raids na ginawa namin, may mga nakuha kaming pre-registered SIM cards na nanggaling na po sa what countries? Sa ibang bansa, sir. So UK, yeah. Meron tayo sa UK, meron tayo sa India ng mga pre-registered SIM cards. So, sabi namin, hanggang nag-i-exist itong mga to, sir, Hindi mauubos yung online gaming na yan. Hindi mauubos yung Pogo na yan, sir. Kasi sir, dito, nakakakuha sila eh. Kahit anong bantay natin, sir, okay, nasira na natin, sir, yung number 3, number 4, number 2 na pinakamalalaking Pogo hubs dito sa Pilipinas. Pag kumalat ito, sir, dahil meron pa rin silang pre-registered SIM cards, they can do scamming in houses. 50-50 person, sir. Sa mga condo, sir, they can do scamming, sir, as long as they possess and they can avail of these pre-registered SIM cards. So, yun, sir, ang nakikita namin na problema. And, of course, sir, dapat maghigpit talaga tayo rito pagdating, sir, sa mga government-issued IDs. Kasi, sabi ko nga, sir, Philippines is really a playground for them now para gumawa, sir, ng mga scamming activities nila and criminal activities as well. Kasi, sir, hindi lang po scamming ang ginagawa nila. They're now doing kidnappings, killings. They have enforcers now, sir, dito sa atin. And na sila mismo, dati, gumagamit pa sila ng mga Filipino counterparts. But later on, they realized na lagi silang nahuhuli pag may counterpart na Pilipino silang kasama. Now, what they're doing is, nag-i-import na sila ng mga, it's either retired military from other countries or some are retired policemen. Ito po ay nasa record natin, na ang hinahabol namin dun sa ibang Pogo hubs are retired military or retired policemen. And probably that will explain why we have military uniforms and military and police uniforms doon po sa mga Pogo hubs na nire-raid natin. And yun na po ang ginagamit nila. Sila na mismo, they have their own rule. They created their own parang batas sa loob ng Pogo Hub. And these Pogo Hubs are self-contained Pogo Hubs na lahat nandun na eh. Hindi na kailangan lumabas ang isang Pogo Hub worker. They have prostitution inside. They have KTVs inside. They have doctors inside. They have pharmaceuticals inside. Groceries. So you don't need, pag nasa loob ka po ng Pogo Hub, you don't need to get out dahil yung sinusweldo mo, doon mo nalang binibili, yung Pogo Hub na rin ang maniningil sa'yo. Yun lang nga, pag hindi ka nakakabayad at ayaw mo magbayad at ayaw mong gawin yung pinagagawa nila or siguro hindi ka po nakaka-comply sa kote nila, then you will be subjected to tortures. And yung pong mga nakikita natin videos na palala na po ng palala there are more gross videos na hindi na po namin sinasama dahil baka hindi nyo na ma-take. Yung kanina nga, may nasingitan pa tayong isa dyan dahil hiniwa-hiwa ho yung puwit nun tapos nilagyan ng ketchup na maanghang. So ganun na ho sila ka, parang sabi ko nga, this is their playground now and they can do whatever they want. So, yun lang po, sir.
Thank you for that, Yusek. In Yusek, after raiding, we have raided 2 probably, or 3, huge Pogo hubs. The one in Las Piñas, the one in Bamban, and the one in Porac. And seems to me na these are really probably the biggest operating in our country. Have we already apprehended, have we already stopped the perpetrators of these Pogo hubs? Meaning, have we already apprehended or charged the mastermind of these Pogos? Tapos na ba? In other words, tapos na ba ito? Are we seeing the end of this type of criminality?
We did charge some of the bosses, sir. Malalaki na, sir, yung mga nahuli natin eh. But, ano po to, sir, kabit-kabit na in our analysis, nag-ooperate pa rin, sir, yung iba eh. Despite yung may mga inaprubahan po tayo, sir, di ba? Yung mga temporary license natin and but yung iba po, they really intend not to magpa-license eh. Dahil mas gusto nilang mag-operate, sir, ng colorum eh, ng illegal. So, ang nakita namin, okay, sir, na-stop natin yung 3, 4, 5 na malalaking pogo, sir eh. But, nag-ooperate pa rin po, sir, yung iba. I think we did some impact in some ways, but really for them to stop, hindi po natin nagagawa, sir. I think kailangan, sir, pumukpok pa po tayo, sir. But, yun nga yung sinabi ko, sir, if we can do something about this proliferation of this pre-registered SIM card, sir, baka ma-stop natin ito.
Well, talk to DICTs here, no? So, I'm sure they're taking note of that, and we already flagged them about the problems of the fake SIM cards, or not fake SIM cards, but the fake identities being used in SIM cards. No, we already flagged them with that. We'll talk to them later on about that. No? Because a lot of this, when you talk about digital internet, we have no choice but to talk to DICT. No? Because they're the agency that is supposed to be leading the way in assuring the public that the digital space is safe for everyone, no? And not being abused. No? But obviously, that's not the case. No? We're not seeing that. So we'll hear from the ACT about their efforts to clean up the digital space in our country. No? Ang next question ko, Yusek, there's also a school of thought that if we ban POGOs, they will go underground. No? Or if we ban POGOs, the illegal will continue. Because they're illegal. Whether we ban or we don't ban, they will continue. What is your opinion on that? Do you think banning POGOs will still yield to the same illegal activities? Based on your expert opinion and based on your observation, I'm sure you've seen a lot of all of this, yung kanilang patterns, no? You've seen a lot of the patterns, you see a lot of their mentality. So what's your opinion on that type of school of thought?
Well, definitely, sir, Mr. Chair, when you ban POGOs, tama yun, sir. Ma-stop natin yan. But we need to be more sir, yung mas masigasig tayo sa pagpa-follow up. Dahil yun ang mangyayari, sir, eh. Pag na-ban natin yan, magliliitan yan, sir, eh. And then, magigirilya yan. Yung ginagawa nila sa multinational, yun, sir, ang mangyayari. They just do scamming activities in houses. So, yun lang, sir, ang magiging problema natin. But, ang solusyon naman na ino-offer namin dyan, sir, we can do it on a local level na, sir, eh. If, let's say, the mayor or the governor or the city mayor will be aggressive, sir, in running after this, yung mga colorum na POGO hubs na ito, yung mga maliliit na to, sir, mas madali na, eh. Compared, sir, dito sa malalaki, sir, it's hard. I mean, sir, we already told you our stories on how hard for us to even apply for search warrant, even to get help from other law enforcement agencies. Medyo hirap po kami because of the connections, because of the network, because of yung resources na ginagamit, sir, ng mga management ng POGO hubs na yan laban sa mga gustong manghuli sa kanila. Unlike, sir, kung maliliit, sir, I think yung local, sir, kaya na eh. Alimbawa, sir, in other cities like Valenzuela and Bulacan, they already banned POGO hubs there, sir, operation of POGO hubs. So it would be easier, sir. Kasi pag sa local, sir, you can check on do you have the proper mayor's permit o kaya do you have the necessary fire code compliance in that area, sir. Tapos it will be very easy kasi, sir. Halimbawa kung sa bahay yan, sir, yung bahay lang na yun, sir, ang bukas ang ilaw sa gabi. So ang daling makita na nun, sir, eh. So it would be easier, sir. Comparing dun sa parang fortress, sir, na gigibain natin, sir, yung yung gate o akyatin mo pa yung gate para makita mo yung operation, which is what they're doing in this mga POGO hubs na malalaki. But kung nasa subdivision sila, sir, even the homeowners association, sir, kaya na pong pasukin yun. So, mas madali, sir, kung ano. Pero, banning, sir, pwede pong mangyari yun. Hindi po magiging problema, sir, yung madidilute sila.
Yusek, nakita ko kasi, no, in our times when we inspected the facilities, I saw some of the workers there. They transfer from one company to the other, no? From one POGO hub to the other. In fact, they start off as legitimate or legal, and then they end up working in illegal. No? I saw some paperworks regarding that. Mga IDs na nare-recover, yung mga working permits na nare-recover. So, in other words, nag-umpisa sila legal, but they end up in illegal. And they transfer, they move around. No? That's what we, at least that's what I saw, no? In those briefings and the inspections that we made. Is that the same pattern that you've seen in the past raids that you conducted?
Opo, sir. Now they're doing it in groups. Dati, isa-isa lang, sir. Now, ang nakikita mo namin is, pag mainit dito, sa isang POGO hub na ito, they'll just, a group of 10 or 20 persons, lilipat lang yan sa isang POGO hub. So, yung mga team leaders nila, now they are, kasi sir, when you are obliged to reach a certain quota, let's say 5 million to 8 million, yung isang group of 20 or group of 10, diba, inobliga ka sir na you need to reach 8 o 10 million quota every week. Ngayon sir, the same group sir, paglilipat yan sir, isang grupo na yan. So, palipat-lipat lang sila sir Sa mga POGO sir dito sa Metro Manila and even in POGOs in Region 3 and Region 4 sir. Palipat-lipat. Even sir, yung mga nare-rescue namin sa Myanmar, yung mga nare-rescue namin doon sir. Dito sir, sa Pilipinas, yung mga Pilipino doon, ngayon supervisor sila rito and they're handling groups na already.
In other words, ang nakikita ko kasi yung mga again, based on your observation, nagiging daan nitong mga legal POGO hubs para makapasok sila. And then they eventually transfer. And now narinig ko sa inyo that they operate now in teams. I guess meron silang they organize themselves and they move around. Is that what you also observe? Is that these legal POGO hubs, because when they come here, they bring in thousands of people. So I'm not sure if they can monitor all of the movement of those thousands of people, especially if they don't perform. No? So, and that's what I see when I inspect yung mga IDs. Nakita natin yan, the IDs of different POGO hubs. So, based on your observation, is that the phenomena? Is that a pattern that you are seeing, that these legal POGO hubs become the door that opens, and then once they're in, nandito na sa Pilipinas, it's easy to move around?
Yung mga legal POGO hubs, sir, frankly speaking, sir, dyan din po tayo nakakakuha, sir, ng mga, ng mga scammers. Most of the POGO hubs na ni-raid namin, sir, may mga license yung iba And yet, they're doing scamming activities inside those POGO hubs. And yung sir, yun nga sir, palipat-lipat lang sila. Sa tingin ko sir, hindi na nila tinitignan whether that's a legal POGO hub or illegal POGO hub. Ang tinitingnan lang nila sir kung eto maganda pa pasweldo nito, eto ba maayos ang pasweldo. Yun na lang sir Pero as to whether that's a legal or illegal POGO hub sir, di na po. They don't care already sir.
Thank you for that, for sharing with us your thoughts on that. Yusek.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. Actually, in addition doon sa statement ni Executive Director Yusek Gilberto D.C. Cruz, yung SIM cards pre-registered, actually nag-evolve na ho ang technology natin. Ang na-observe ho namin sa Philippine cyberspace, is yung utilization ng virtual numbers or foreign numbers. For example, if you're using a Telegram platform, you can buy virtual numbers using ton coins, which is exclusive only sa platform na yon. Then you can use it in any mode of communication. So in terms of tracking from the law enforcement perspective, definitely wala ho kaming makikita doon kasi naglalaho na yun sa cyberspace. I think ito siguro ang pwede rin natin tingnan with the ICT and NTC kung paano ho natin ma-address yan. Especially unregulated ho yung ating mga platform like Telegram, Signal, etc. I think uupuan ho namin yan with the ICT how to address those issues. And then, Your Honor, in terms of the position of the NBI, basically the NBI concurs with the eventual ban of POGO in the Philippines, with the caveat that the total ban on POGO be done gradually. Given the fact that there are at least 5,000 Filipinos are direct POGO employees, while 30,000 of the 65,000 indirect hires are also Filipinos. And in addition to the provision, Your Honor, under the Senate Bill 63 and 1281, the prohibition covers only acts that promote or encourage online gambling. This is referring to public officer or employee. The NBI is somehow proposing that the prohibition would be extended to other acts, such as having knowledge of the existence of the operation of online gambling in his or her jurisdiction, meaning yung public officer employee. And if he fails to abate or to take action or tolerates the same in connection therewith, para ho at least mas rigid ho yung ating measure in terms of curbing itong POGO operation. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. We want to hear also from NSC, National Security Council. Any comments on the matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The NSC also supports the three bills, Senate bills in consideration today pertaining to online gambling and on offshore gambling activities. We have seen, sir, the as presented by the chair in his initial presentation, we have seen the extent of criminal activities being conducted in some of the IGLs and POGO facilities, particularly human trafficking, cyber fraud, prostitution, etc., etc., which to us has become a very serious national concern that are now being addressed by the appropriate law enforcement agencies. We have the PAOK and CIDG, PNP, and also by the appropriate regulatory agencies such as PAGCOR. But the NSC, for its part, continues to work closely with the appropriate agencies so that we could come up with a good understanding of its implications to national security. At this point in time, we are seeing this as a serious national concern, but we are getting there. We are now in consultation with the appropriate agencies like the National Intelligence Board in conducting this assessment. So again, sir, we support the passage of legislative measures that would outlaw and criminalize illegal POGO operations and thereby totally ban such POGOs and IGLs in the country. That would be all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that statement. And by far, I think that's the strongest statement I've heard from the NSC, that to completely ban POGOs eventually in our country. You mentioned that currently it's considered a national security concern. But you also mentioned that we're getting to the point that it's becoming a national security threat. No? Did I get you correctly, sir?
We are trying to get to the assessment that this is possibly a national security concern, because if we look at national security, we look at some elements like territorial integrity, sovereignty, social cohesiveness, political stability, and at this point in time, we do not see that happening right now. But we are, of course, as I mentioned, that we are now in consultation with the National Intelligence Board and the other agencies here to get that assessment, so that this would help the President later on come up with a better appreciation of how to look at this POGO issue, Mr. Chair.
What will it take for what scenario should happen before what scenario should happen in relation to POGO that it will be elevated to a national security threat? What type of scenarios are you looking at? Because for me, it's already, with all of these things happening, we have criminal syndicates operating in our country, we have evidence of military or police uniforms, Chinese police uniforms, Chinese military uniforms in our country. We also have, I remember reading in the news that we apprehended a hacking expert who was also connected to POGOs. He actually disclosed himself that he was once upon a time connected to POGOs. And they discovered sophisticated equipment and also ammunition and firearms in his condominium, I believe. For me, it's already all the fingerprints of a national security threat is already there. Especially the hacking expert that we discovered. In my mind, what are we still waiting for to declare it as a national security threat? All the red flags are already there, and all of those are pointing to POGOs as the origin of those circumstances. So, kaya in my mind, ano ba inaantay natin? What are we still waiting for to elevate it into a national security threat?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Right now, the issue is handled pretty well, or we are satisfied with how this is being handled by the law enforcement and regulatory agencies. But I am taking from the statement of the National Security Advisor when he mentioned that the response to this does not yet have to include the drastic responses, for example, involving the AFP in addressing national security threats like the CPP-NPA and even terrorist threats. This is where I'm coming from the statement already given by the NSA on this regard, sir.
Okay, I understand that. My point of the matter is we are already seeing red flags. And let's call on the ICT. I think we've heard a lot of the comments, engineer and attorney.
Yes, good afternoon po. Good afternoon po, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I'm Gladys De Ocampo from the ICT. And on our part, we fully support the bills stated. And as the ICT po, to address yung concerns kanina, as the ICT, we can create the policies and the guidelines for which to support the banning of the POGOs. And the concern of USEC Cruz po, when it comes to registered SIMs na po, yung mga fake identities, I do understand that NTC, in practice currently, with the SIM Registration Act, all the telcos are do implement the this live selfie capture, facial liveliness check. So lahat po sila nagko-comply doon with it when it comes to SIM registration. I think there are several pa. May facial recognition and matching pa po. And then optical character recognition. Of course, yung disabled stock photo upload. Yung mga pagka i-upload po yung nasa photo lang, hindi po pwede siya. Tama ba, sir? Attorney. And to also address naman yung virtual asset concern when it comes to NBI, we have the CICC that could, they have digital forensics po that could probably trace itong mga virtual assets, yung movement. Like I mentioned earlier, as the ICT, we could create the guidelines. Currently po, we work with other agencies, no? When it comes to telcos, when it comes to SIM registration, we cascade with NTC. So when it comes to digital privacy, mga breaches po, we cascade with NPC. And when it becomes a cybercrime, so sa CICC po tayo. All others, syempre I come from the Cybersecurity Bureau. Currently we are coordinating with all agencies para sa kanilang computer emergency response team. If you're familiar with it, of course, we are also trying to draft yung Cybersecurity Act for protection naman po ng ating cyberspace. But among others, pagka po may concern si na agency when it comes to digital transformation or security on cyberspace, nakikipag-coordinate naman po. And we do assist with the creation of their guidelines specific to their offices. Yun po, sir.
Well, the biggest elephant in the room is the SIM card registration implementation. I think we've seen that we had a lot of high hopes when that law was signed, but it seems to me that it's still far from ideal. I think all of us still get a lot of nag-offer ng condo, nag-offer ng loan. I still get that a lot. But the most glaring violations were the ones discovered by PAOK during the raids. I'm sure you've seen it, no? And I've seen it personally. So, what can we do to stop? You mentioned some safeguards, no, that are being implemented. But have you reviewed whether the telcos have actually implemented those safeguards and have actually only registered legitimate persons?
If I may, Mr. Chair, i-refer ko na lang po sa ating NTC representative po.
Sige, go ahead.
Kay Attorney Castel.
Attorney Castelar.
po.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. In 2023, NTC issued Memorandum Order 10-9-2023 and directed the telcos to adopt the latest technologies in their SIM registration platform. And after more than 6 months, NTC has been validating that these live selfie captures, facial liveliness, disabled stock photo upload, facial recognition and matching, and optical character recognition has been adopted by the telcos. But we've also noticed that as reported by our regional offices, there are still instances where SIMs are being sold and irregularly registered as assisted by the sellers in the provinces, Your Honor. And so that's why there's still a need to tighten, I think, and also monitor the performance of the telcos as they comply with Memorandum Order 10-9-2023.
So, in other words, only legitimate persons can buy SIM cards right now.
No, as of now, Your Honor, anybody can buy a SIM card, but they
Correct.
should follow the registration process under the SIM registration law. And the telco should provide an electronic platform for the telcos to for the subscribers to register safely and securely, and also to prevent irregular registrations.
Yeah,
of
correct.
SIMs.
Because the problem, I think we had a hearing on this one time and I remember yung mga unggoy, diba? Unggoy, elepante, pwedeng bumili ng SIM cards No? So
that was the infancy stage, Your Honor, of
yeah, but
the
now
SIM registration.
because of the technology you mentioned, that is not possible anymore.
We have
Only legitimate
validated
persons.
We have validated that, Your Honor, in the NTC, and right now the stricter protocols are in place.
Okay.
So let's say a stock photo cannot be uploaded to serve as the registrant identity. Now it has to be an actual live face that's blinking, that's moving, and of course it will no longer accept non-human registrants.
Those SIM cards recovered by PAOK, thousands of them were recovered. Have you investigated on how they were issued? I think we should also learn from those experiences so that we can prevent. Because I'm trying to imagine, how can one person or several persons be issued thousands of SIM cards and get away with it? I mean, that should be a red flag already. No? Of course, the telcos will sell SIM cards to anyone, no? Because that's revenue. But from a regulator standpoint, that should be red flag. That should be a red flag already that should trigger some form of investigation or some form of warning.
As we have observed, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, based on several meetings with the telcos and seeking their inputs on the findings of the PAOK and other agencies, we have determined that the so-called pre-registered SIMs are actually irregularly registered SIMs, either by the buyers or perpetrators of scams, or maybe they were able to acquire it through vendors that have registered it irregularly, maybe taking advantage of the earlier registration platform that was quite unprepared and lax by them before the adoption of the artificial intelligence and other technologies that will now tighten the the online registration platform.
All right. Well, it's good to hear that. I hope those thousands of SIM cards will be the end of it, no? Because the SIM cards became the accessory for scamming. That's the choice of weapon, no, to scam individuals, no? And we've seen that on the ground, no? And that's why we have to learn from that experience. No? Hopefully, the technologies that you mentioned will put an end to this type of criminal activities. No? Hopefully. Now, I also heard from Engineer Ocampo that you support the bill. Diba? And the bill calls for banning of online games, no? Online gaming,
Yes,
including offshore and domestic taking of bets. Now, earlier during the discussion with PAGCOR, shutting down websites is a very complex activity. No? It's para siyang cat and mouse. No? It's a cat and mouse activity. And of course, the government agencies rely on DICT for this. I don't think PAGCOR or any government agency can do it on their own. They have to go through the ICT, as I understand it. Can we do it? For example, if we ban online gaming, and then all of these guys go underground, and all of these guys go gray market, and then we will ask the ICT to ban it. Can you do it? Can you ban the 7,000 websites mentioned before? Or we might just end up with, all of them going underground, and we have a bigger problem of enforcement. So
It's a possibility po, Your Honor. But then in practice po, NTC do ban websites, but this it requires a bit of trigger. Now, these bills, if banned po ang POGO, it will provide a legal reference or legal trigger for NTC to block these websites. In practice po, meron tayo from the SISAM Act. So, pagka po meron child pornography, i-request po or ikakascade kay isisend kay DICT for blocking dahil po merong na-prove na crime na nagawa si website. So, ikakascade po namin kay NTC. So, si NTC po mag-issue ng memorandum kay ISP to block this website. So, we have also yung anti-voyeurism, and then yun po. So that's the process that we do in lack thereof ng mandate ni DICT na mag-block directly. So with this bill, if we are actually banning this websites, pwede po natin yung i-request through NTC na sila po ang nagre-regulate. In practice naman po ito, sinusuportahan po yung ibang mga acts na existing natin.
fast, what is the process and how fast to block websites? For example, first of all, what is the trigger? Who triggers the blocking of website? Is it PAGCOR? Is it the PNP? Who gives the instruction to block all of these websites?
Your Honor, we usually receive an endorsement from either the CICC, PAGCOR, the Games and Amusement Board, and mostly the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group.
Enough already. Once you receive that letter of request, that's enough for you to move and block the websites.
Yes, Your Honor, because for example, the PNP ACG is a law enforcement agency, particularly with a particular expertise on cybercrimes and also online gambling, and so we take the endorsement on its face, and we now direct internet service providers and the telcos to block those links and sites.
That General Villanueva mentioned that earlier. So you go through the ISPs to block it.
We direct the ISPs.
NTC does not block it directly.
It is not NTC blocking itself. It's NTC directing the telcos and the ISPs that are under our regulatory jurisdiction, and for them to block these particular sites that have been determined by other regulatory agencies or the PNP ACG to have been violating the laws.
How many ISPs and telcos do you instruct to block a particular website?
Your Honor, around 800, Your Honor.
So how do you inform 800? Do you email them right one by one? How do you?
We have a facility to blast to the information to these entities, Your Honor.
And then how do you validate whether they've blocked it or not? Is there a?
They submit a report to us, Your Honor.
Okay. So for example, I heard earlier that there's now PAGCOR is going, I think, going to send you a letter or going to advise you to block 7,000 websites. So the process there is you will send 800 ISPs the names of those 7,000 websites, and they will block the 7,000 websites and give you feedback that they have blocked the 7,000 websites.
Yes, Mr. Chair. PAGCOR has actually been coordinating with NTC on these matters, and so we regularly direct ISPs and telcos to block particular identified web links that are engaged in illegal e-sabong or other types of online gaming.
Okay. Is there any penalty, for example, if the ISP will not block? For example, one ISP is in connivance with an internet website or a e-gambling website.
If the commission determines, Your Honor, that any particular ISP is non-compliant or refuses to comply with the directive of the commission, then we can initiate an administrative case under the provisions of the Public Service Act.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that feedback. Since we're talking about on e-gaming, I would like to ask Pagcor, how many people are employed by e-gaming? Do we have that number? For example, in POGOs, there are about 42,000, of which 22 are Filipinos, 20,000 are foreigners. In e-gaming, how many employees or how many people are working in e-gaming?
Well, just an estimate. With our licensees, I am just getting the number now. It's about 100,000. 100,000, more or less. This includes the brick and mortar already, and then, Mr. Chairman, I want you to know that the big integrated resorts, are also now setting up, and some have already set up their respective online gaming platforms, and in the proposals that we have approved, they are really going to heavily employ Filipinos. In fact, one big IR is using, if I'm not mistaken, close to 3,000 or 5,000 square meters to be able to start running their online gaming business. So, aside from the brick and mortar and our licenses, I want to emphasize, Mr. Chairman, that the land-based casinos are already not only preparing, but they're starting already their own online gaming businesses. As maybe you have read, major land-based casinos all over the world have already started setting up their online gaming businesses. And recently, I had read a report on online gaming. There are about 10 big countries that have opened up their jurisdictions for online gaming. To cite a few, you have Mexico, Italy, of course, US and Canada, Germany, Brazil. So in line, if I may just say this, in line with what Mr. Lee Chu had said earlier, part of the, balik lang po tayo sa POGO, segue lang po sa POGO, Mr. Chairman. I had mentioned this in the last hearing. In my administration, we have created the SBPO for the different online gaming companies worldwide. And so far, Mr. Chairman, we have already licensed 10. And we still have many applicants. And maybe I just want to echo what Mr. Licho had said earlier. This is a very big opportunity for us. Unfortunately, the illegals are really lording in sense of creating all this sensational news. I totally understand the criminal activities that they are doing. Definitely, even PAGCOR condemns all. But all I'm saying is that there is a big segment now, and I don't think in the numbers of DOLE that were presented earlier, that is included already. And in our database, is close to another 10,000. Employed po, Mr. Chairman, dito sa special BPO na tinatawag ng PAGCOR. And they are servicing clients in the different jurisdictions all over the world. And they are basically the customer service agents. So, for example, a big company in Mexico will contact a BPO in Manila. And that BPO will set up their division to cater to the customer service needs of that corp or online gaming or even land-based gaming company in another country. Just like the basic principle of a BPO, if I'm not mistaken, where we service the customer or the backroom operations and the customer service needs of foreign companies that are not in the Philippines. So, I would like to echo what Mr. Licho was saying earlier, that in your study, in the committee study, in all these proposals, maybe we should also consider that there are really legitimate businesses who are engaged in legitimate operations. Pag linahat naman po natin yung mga yan, talaga namang how, in fact, most, if not all of them, are foreign corporations. What do we tell them? They are doing legal businesses, or they were operating their businesses legally, and then they're affected by all these criminal activities that they do not have any control of. So, dun lang naman po ako nagmumula. And Mr. Licho, I want you to know also that PAGCOR was a beneficiary of the low rental rates. You were talking of government offices. I do not know if you're aware. PAGCOR just consolidated our offices. We were in a few buildings all over Metro Manila. We are now in the Bay Area and took advantage of the low rates. So we are now, for the first time, after 41 years, PAGCOR is all together in one building, and we are in the Bay Area. So kami din po ay one of those who, in the question of the chairman, who can occupy. We are one of those government offices that occupied one entire building in the Bay Area. And the rates, Mr. Chairman, were very, very reasonable. So nakinabang po kami doon sa vacancy na sinasabi ni Mr. Licho. So yun lang po. The SBPO, we created this because there were clamors, and also, Mr. Chairman, we made it very easy for all those who wanted to have this SBPO licenses. We got a ruling from the Office of the Solicitor General, hindi na po kailangan ng mga lono-lono para lang to encourage these BPOs to bring their clients in Manila. As Mr. Licho had mentioned, and I have a report, all over the world, binubuksan na po ang online gaming. Maliwanag po yan. And we will benefit from it because they will be needing customer service agents. When you place a bet, the customer will normally check on what is his balance, what his winnings, his losses, and most probably, as Mr. Licho, a real estate guru in the Philippines, said, we will definitely benefit from it. So, in your study, in the study that the different or this committee or different committees are undertaking, I would like also for these different committees to consider this aspect of the BPO. Kasi earlier, I also heard you asking if the other BPOs can also take up that 3 million square meters of vacant space right now. I would just like to emphasize, Mr. Chairman, that PAGCOR has this new SBPO license that we have issued. We started this during my time, 2023 po, nung inumpisa namin. And we have been successful, and we have 10 companies now registered, Mr. Chairman. And we have we have now calls and from people who are or companies who are interested about this special BPO license that PAGCOR has started to give out.
Thank you. And the SBPO caters to gaming companies.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, gaming companies who are abroad. We can give you a list of these companies. In fact, I just do not know. There are known BPO companies in Manila. So, what happens is they service the needs of the gaming companies outside the Philippines.
Balik lang ko, Chairman, dun sa employees. No? You said in the e-gaming, and you said there are 100,000 employees being employed right now?
It is being confirmed by Attorney Luglug, the head of the electronic gaming. There are about 100,000.
How many are Filipinos? How many are foreigners?
Oh, most of them are Filipinos. How many percent? 90% are Filipinos.
Okay.
Yun po ay gusto natin liwan. Dito po kasi hindi kailangan ng foreign speaking masyado. So 90% po ay Filipinos. So the ratio is 9 out of 10 are Filipinos.
How about in this SBPO?
All Filipinos po.
All Filipinos?
Because they're considered, Mr. Chairman, as a BPO. So para po, so siguro there are a few supervisors, but generally speaking, more 90% at the very least are Filipinos also.
Well, Chairman, I go back to the original intention of the authors to ban online gaming. I think everyone now, including myself, have pretty good understanding of this online gaming. To be honest about it, this past few years, the highlight was on POGOs. No? Little is known with this online gaming. But the online gaming, as we understand it, employs 100,000 people, 90% of which are Filipinos, generates about...
this year, we're expecting anywhere between 38 to 42 billion
pesos
po. Sa amin lang po yun, Mr. Chairman, sa PAGCOR. Based on the license fees that we have. By the way, we have brought down our license fees already, and we're at par with the different jurisdictions around the world.
In BIR, do we have the tax collection for e-gaming?
Mr. Chair, we're currently extracting the data for e-gaming in general. Unfortunately, as compared to POGOs, it isn't as regularly monitored. But we will produce that and we'll submit to the committee.
Just submit to us, no? As soon as you have the data and also the list of corporations or the entities, not the list of corporations, but the entities. Just submit to us the total collection from e-gaming entities.
Will do po.
All right, thank you. Actually, Mr. Chairman, the intention really is to curb social ills by online gaming. Particularly, we had malaki kasi yung phobia na nangyari sa e-sabong. I think e-sabong really created a lot of negative perceptions on e-gaming, no? Especially when that 40 sabongeros disappeared, and then yun na nga mentioned by General Tataka that some of our men in uniform, including probably government employees, are gambling through online gaming. That's why ako personally, any talk of reviving e-sabong, I will be against it, no? Because it's I've seen the damage that it has done to our society. I've seen it, no? High school students in our community betting on e-sabong during the pandemic. Kasi admittedly, during the pandemic, everyone was hooked online, no? So I've seen that personally, and I will really be against any talk of reviving e-sabong. Now, we still have a lot of things to do in terms of regulation, no, on online gaming. And I'll show a video. Kasi I saw in your guidelines that, tama po ba, Chairman, Only 21 years old can bet?
Yung pong KYC is dapat 21 years old.
KYC is 21 years old?
Yes.
And then no government employee?
Well, yung pong no government employee is for land-based casinos, and I suppose it's for everywhere, no? But wala pong specific rule dun sa online games.
And that is the problem, no? Because nga...
bawal din po pala, sorry. Maski po, I'm sorry.
I saw in the guidelines, bawal.
I'm sorry. 21 years old, no government employee, and dapat po lumusot doon sa KYC.
Oo. I asked my staff to open an account in one of the
Websites.
e-gaming, just to test the age and also, ito government employee to, no? And even the name, no? So we tested it. Yan, ito, paki-play lang. So, medyo mabilis lang. Can we slow it down? Yan. Ulitin na lang natin. Can we, let's repeat it. Just to open an account lang. To test whether the safeguards are present. Okay, go ahead. Medyo mabilis, ano? Hold on.
Para sa iba pang karagdagang mga balita at impormasyon, ay huwag po nating kalimutang mag-like, share at comment sa video na ito, at huwag po rin nating kalimutang mag-subscribe to continue supporting us. Maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood, at naway tangkilikin po ninyo ang aming YouTube channel.